Hero Academia is one of the only animes that I think I've ever watched that just absolutely irritates me for no reason. Now, if you don't know what My Hero Academia is, it's basically where they take the real world and essentially people have started to develop superpowers. And from what they say is like roughly 80% of the population of the entire world, whether you are a infant or you are someone who is older, whatever it is, has essentially gained a free superpower after a birth of a singularity of a baby that was born with powers itself. And the show overall is really good. Spoilers ahead, just a heads up. So the show overall is pretty good. It's about basically this boy who has no superpowers, and he finds a way to basically gain superpowers, and he figures out that he has to fight like this villain who essentially his ideals is he wants to be the ruler of the world and he wants to have the power to take and gain anyone's power at will to basically it would essentially kind of be like a Doctor Doom situation, I guess you could say, where there would be no war, no famine, no anything, but he would basically have the entire ruling over the entire world, essentially. So he is like a super villain, but it's like a weird thing where he kind of wants to make like a perfect society, I guess you could say, in a weird way. And you might be asking, well, why do you get irritated at this show? And the reason I get irritated at this show is because of one, the plot holes, two, the amount of just random cliffhangers out of nowhere, and three, because they just don't explain 99% of the stuff. That's honestly why. And you might think like, oh well, isn't them not explaining stuff part of the plot holes? No, there's genuinely just parts that are never explained and probably never will be explained at that. And because of that, there's just so many things that you look at and you're like, man, I really, really wonder like what is going on in like the background of the writing. So one of the main characters in the show, his name is All Might, and basically he was the number one symbol of peace throughout the entire world for a very very long time. All Might gets this injury before he gives away his quirk to the main character. He gets this injury that uh, basically makes it where he can't do hero work anymore because one of his lungs collapsed or something like that. And when he got this injury, they didn't think to replace the lung. He didn't get it healed for some reason. And apparently, in this world of superpowers, keep in mind, at least from what we understand, there isn't a doctor that has developed a superpower to reverse like injuries, or to regenerate organs, apparently. So, like, this is where my first issue comes in. Billions of people in the world, keep in mind, billions of people, and we don't have a singular guy that basically has a ability to heal broken organs. And then you go into this and you're like, okay, I get it. They have to do something for the plot. Fair enough. Okay. But then they go into the main character, Deku, or Izuku Midoriya, right? He is born from two parents that supposedly have superpowers. His dad, we don't know basically anything about him, but is a superhero that lives in America full time and basically hunts villains in America, essentially. Because from the little bit that you kind of gather, America is like universal threats. Like it's crazy. Like if Japan is continental or world threats, then America is universal. Is kind of how they go about it. At least that's kind of what I've gained the understanding from reading some of the stuff that people say from the manga and stuff like that. So Deku somehow doesn't get a quirk, meaning he's like ultra rare, and then he gets All Might's quirk. And when he gets All Might's quirk, basically it's too much for him to handle. So what ends up happening, right? He breaks his bones every single time, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, does he eventually get over this? No. The entire show up until this point, if he uses too much, he just breaks his bones. Like even at the very end of the show, he's still like basically breaking his bones, even with like him being able to control the power almost 100%. And then something that they never explain is so All Might has this ability to transform into basically a form where he can use more of his muscle mass and everything. This is never shown. Like and I like I said, Ed, I haven't read the manga. Or I didn't say that. I haven't read the manga. Maybe it explains it in the manga. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But it irritates me because you think that that would be one of the first things they teach Izuku Midoriya is how to transform because clearly All Might isn't using his power outside of this transformation. And when I say a transformation, I mean basically imagine a guy who's super skinny, like a skeleton essentially, and he transforms into a 600 pounds pure muscle buff guy essentially. It's literally just like him if he went to the gym for 800 years essentially. But Midoriya can't use this for some reason. Like, and this actually kind of brings me to a little bit of a theory that I have about my hero that I think is might fill that plot hole a little bit. And I don't know if this is a theory already out there. It probably is because the show's been out forever. I have a theory that All Might in the show had a quirk because he was also like Midoriya. He never had a quirk. So I have a theory that he actually had a quirk, and his quirk was transformation, basically, where he could transform his body into a ideal state where he could basically use 100% of his power and like 100% of like the human mind essentially. That is my theory. And I think what that basically did is with that quirk, it allowed him to live a longer life than the other past users of the quirk. Because most of the users for this quirk could only live to 20, and we discover like at the end he's like 50 or something like that. So I presume he actually does have a quirk, but he doesn't know it because he might have been told he didn't have one, or maybe he got like gifted more stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Like it's one of the biggest plot holes in the entire show. But then there's other little things too, right? You go through the entire show and there's stuff like so they get attacked a lot, right? The people, the new heroes that are coming up, the My Hero Academia, the students, whatever you want to call them, right? They get attacked a lot throughout the show by the main villains, which is the League of Villains, and there's spoilers alert. Like I said, there's a spy in the class essentially. How are the teachers not picking up on this? Like I don't know. I think it's such a weird thing. So like one time at one point they go to a training camp like way in the mountains and they end up getting attacked. And the reason they get attacked is basically because the uh, the spy that's in the class, he tells the villains that they're going there. So you're telling me that like the teachers told everybody beforehand that they're going to the mountains and they specifically wanted it to be secluded so they also allowed people to take their phones? Like what? You think like that wouldn't be a thing, or you think that like everything would be monitored, being that like they're already kind of suspicious that there's a spy. And I think it's ridiculous because like in the early episodes, they even one of them mentions that there's a possible spy, but they end up like shooting this idea down. They're like, no, it's impossible. There can't be a spy. Who are we kidding? Like how like oblivious, I guess you could say, are the heroes in this show for this stuff to basically just like go away, or them like to not catch a spy. The one guy who's dipping out of a group and making a phone call to his parents doesn't seem suspicious to you, really? Like, really? Yeah, I don't know, and it's just stuff like that all of the time throughout the show, or they have to specifically nerf characters because they just know if that character actually was a character throughout the entire show, they would just stomp everything. So one of the first people we get to introduced to in like the very beginning is Eraserhead. He's the teacher of like all the heroes essentially, and Eraserhead has this ability where when he stares at you, he can erase your power as long as he's staring. The second he blinks, you get your power back. But if he stares again, he erases your power again. And it's a really like strong ability. So basically, what they have to force him to do is they have to essentially give the villain so much plot armor because I think at one point they realized how overpowered he is. Because they're like in this fight against the villain, and like he just erased the guy's quirk the entire time. He's just like this the entire time, and basically they had to force the villain to be pushed into this corner, and he didn't think about this the entire fight, by the way, but he eventually thinks, man, what if I like damaged his eyes, or like what if I got rid of his quirk temporarily, and they've keep in mind they've fought this guy at this point that I'm talking about probably 3 or 4 times, so they already know his power exists. It's not a shocker, but that's what I mean. This they had to force the villain to have so much plot armor because if they didn't, that he would have gotten taken out. And I get it, that's kind of the premise of a show at the end of the day is you got to give a little bit of plot armor to your characters, your villains, whatever it is, and that's perfectly fine. But you got to do it in a logical way, They should have damaged Eraserhead. They should have made that like one of the first things that happened in the show. Making it happen after 16 fights with this guy makes zero sense because we've already seen how OP he is. So it just doesn't make sense. Or later on, there is this little girl in the show that we get introduced to. Her name is Ari, and basically she has this horn on her forehead. And when this horn grows, she has the ability to reverse time on, from my understanding, is basically anything she touches. She can reverse time on it. She can reverse time, and she doesn't have perfect control over it, but she can reverse time up to the point where you can basically disintegrate. Like she can make you turn into nothing if she wants you to. So when this guy gets damaged, right? When Eraserhead gets damaged, because he's her main guardian in the show after they save her, why doesn't she just like, I don't know, wacky idea now? Oh, look at that! You're now a younger, stronger Eraserhead. You're back in your prime, baby. Or, oh, I don't know, All Might, because he might not get his power back. We don't know how that would work technically because he passes power on, right, with All Might. But why not at least reverse it to where he doesn't have a collapsing lung, like bare minimum? I don't know. Like it's just a weird aspect, and I get it. Like they're trying to have this like weird hero complex where it's like, well, we don't want to like take advantage of her essentially, like of her quirk. But it's like I don't really think it'd be perceived that way. I think it'd be like, hey, we need you to do this, or the world is going to collapse into chaos. Just my 2 thoughts. Now, I am gonna say there is still a lot of peak throughout this show. These are just like minor complaints, like I said, plot holes and stuff like that. I like the fact that they allow a lot of the villains to have redemption arcs. I like the fact that they hype up the fights like really hardcore. Like every fight you're looking forward to most of the time. I like the fact that there's no like good and bad in the show. Like technically, like you can basically relate to anyone and everyone in the show as long as it's probably not like the main villain, I guess. And even him, like there is like a certain level to it that you can understand. I do think it is a little cringe that spoilers once again, that basically his entire persona is because he's trying to be a demon lord from like a comic book. That's pretty cringe. But like I under the basic aspects of what he's trying to do, basically do like a Doctor Doom. It's one of those things where like, okay, that makes sense. Because Doctor Doom's thing, it makes sense. Now, is it morally right? No, not at all. If you don't know what I mean by a Doctor Doom thing, it's basically where you make a perfect utopia where there's no crime, no famine, no hunger, no nothing. Essentially, everybody uh, always will have food, always will have a job, always will basically have every single thing that like a basic human would need in their entire lifetime. You will always have essentially. And with that, obviously, the reason that it's bad is because you essentially would have to collapse every single government, you'd have to collapse every single society, and then you'd have to make very, very radical decisions about what you're going to do with the criminals and the people that do fight back against you as well. And that's kind of where the evilness comes in. Because if it was just like everybody rallied behind you and like it happened, I don't think anybody would say it's evil. But that's never how it happens in these stories 99% of the time. Usually it's like no, they have to do some like diabolical acts to force the world into that type of situation. This is a review over My Hero. I don't want anybody to think that. This is just like my thoughts because yeah, been watching it. I just finished the final season and then it ended on a cliffhanger. So yeah, I will probably do a review once the final season is out. I guess because they left it on like literally the cliffhanger is on the final fight of like the final season. It's like there's nothing left to happen besides this one singular fight, but we're gonna get like an entire new season, I guess, just for this singular one. But that's really all I want to talk about today. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you like My Hero? Maybe you don't. This got me on a hero kick, just a little bit. I tried to go watch One Punch Man. Crunchyroll, step up your game, bruh. Why don't you have One Punch Man on your platform? I don't understand Crunchyroll these days. I might stop paying for it because not having half of the anime that I like is like so weird. It's like you're supposed to be like the platform for anime, and you don't have half the stuff that's like actually good. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful night. Peace.